Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to begin the board meeting of April 12th. I'd like to ask Vice Chair Shea to do the invocation. And Director Wong, would you do the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you very much.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance and your wisdom, your support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion to make decisions that promote the common good. And continue to remind us all that what we do here today, all that we accomplish is for the betterment of our community and our fellow citizens, and bring us together even with those that are in disagreement with us. And we ask this in your name, amen.
Please place your hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Would you please take
Chair
roll
Miniger,
call?
Present.
Director Connors, Director Heft, Director Munsing, Director Ward, Director Vixarek,
Here.
Alternate O'Neill,
Here.
Director Beal, Director Wong,
Here.
Director Puckett, Alternate Kring, Chair Sachs,
Here.
Vice Chair Shea,
Yes.
Director Bartlett,
Here.
Director Maya.
Here.
We have quorum on San Joaquin, and we're one short on Foothill.
Thank you very much. We now enter to the area of public comments on the agenda. At this time, members of the public may address the boards regarding any items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the boards, but no action may be taken on off-agenda items unless authorized by law. Comments shall be limited to 2 minutes per person and 1 hour for comments, unless different time limits are set by the chair subject to the approval of the boards. If needed, additional public comments will be held before closed session prior to the agenda during public comments, continuation part 2, and shall be limited to 2 minutes per person for comments unless different time limits are set by the chair subject to approval of the board. Madam Vice Chair, how many public comments do we have?
Just give me one moment. I was focused on my prayer.
Prayer's over. It's
Now
time
I'm
to move on.
refocusing on this. Now you've caused a problem because I have to count again.
I know.
3, 6 so far.
We have 6.
Yes.
I'm going to allow 3 minutes for public comments on this 1 hour limit. So let's go with the first speaker. Okay, Zola Tolas. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, but you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. I've been attending these board meetings since April of 2017 due to the monstrous threat of a potential toll road alignment coming through our established communities, schools, parks, and mitigated land. At each meeting, I stand here and I ask you to serve your constituents responsibly, yet I leave feeling that all our concerns are completely ignored. At the last February meeting, the city of San Clemente and our private residents were accused falsely of presenting negative and misleading information about the TCA by Venture Strategic Vice President Alex Avetum, not sure if that's pronounced right, Chairman Sachs, Vice Chair Shea, Directors Wong, and Director Bartlett were quick to jump on the attack. Thankfully, Directors Marriott, Ward, and Schwartz were the voice of reason. Time after time, we have voiced our concerns with the violations being made by the TCA towards the people, such as the not-so-open forums that we experienced, and the misleading surveys that have been administered with words such as pass-through that are not clear, indicating that they're really measured for a toll road, and questions that leave no other choice but to answer the way the TCA wants the data skewed. We have brought to your attention the violations made to the First Amendment, and no alarms have gone off by the board. Yet, Chairman Sachs was quick to send the accusations by Venture Strategic to the California Fair Political Practice Commission for review without allowing the board members to vote on this. Why have you not acted in the same manner to protect your constituents' civil rights? The accusations are yet another intimidation tactic by the TCA to push on with their agenda. The one and only agency that deserves the scrutiny is the TCA that you are claiming that San Clemente is doing. Director Bartlett, I've given the tension that you are facing with the homeless issue in the county, I urge you to listen to your constituents. As I stand here before you, I continue to send emails asking you to please protect our cities. South County does not need a toll road. Look up the recent mobility study completed by IBI in March of this year, which concludes that the issue is on the east and west roadways. And those are the areas of concern, as opposed to the need for a direct connection to the I-5 at any point from San Clemente South. Thank you for your time.
Paul DeCapua, and followed by Randy Newkirk.
Good morning. My name is Paul DeCapo. I live in Rancho Mission Viejo. In March, I spoke with you about various reports that showed options 9 and 18 do little to nothing to improve traffic on I-5. The Smith-Johnson survey stated that 9 and 18 would do little to nothing to relieve traffic on I-5 and would require extensive use of eminent domain to take many homes and businesses. In addition to the high cost of doing this, it would be a public relations disaster. The survey also showed that the Beltway is the least desirable of the options surveyed, even less desirable than doing nothing. The LSA Fair Peers report showed that 9 and 18 would provide only a 5 to 6% benefit in reducing the daily vehicle hours of delay on I-5. A new report, the South Orange County Mobility Report, shows that options 9 and 18 would provide only a 9% improvement on traffic flow on I-5. Ladies and gentlemen, 9 and 18 provide minimal benefit. They are the least desirable options. They require the costly use of eminent domain and are subject to numerous regulatory constraints. You should drop them now from further consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Randy Newkirk, followed by Linda Williams.
Good morning, and thank you for the additional minute. It means that I can speak a little more clearly. My name is Randy Newkirk. I'm a 30-plus year resident of San Clemente. I've come to a lot of these meetings and watched what's being spoken and what you've been considering. And I know that there's a significant percentage of you who are honestly trying to come up with the right plan for 241 going forward. But at the same time, from what I've seen, you've been given very little in the way of unbiased, factual information so far to make those decisions. Now, however, for the first time, you have some unbiased facts based on independent OCTA data, evaluated and summarized by an internationally respected technology and engineering firm, the IBI Group, a firm that has no bias or end result that they are trying to justify. And their conclusion, that extending the 241 to the I-5 at a cost of probably $2 billion plus will have a worse impact on traffic in the future in South Orange County than doing nothing and letting the 241 terminate at Oso. Consider what you've been given so far to evaluate the 241 options in the past. These are just a few of the examples that I've seen. The so-called ascertainment study, upon which the options preferred by the TCA management have been justified, was based on only 45 interviewees whose selection is an open question. The 3 public forums that grew out of it were carefully choreographed so that dissenting viewpoints were sometimes excluded. The TCA consultant here in December to narrow options for you completely ignored in his recommendations the impact of autonomous vehicles on overall traffic in South County and the I-5, incredibly dismissing it as, quote, a coming idea that is premature at this time, end quote. The August 2017 surveys conducted to measure public preferences in the county had questions framed in a way that may have significantly influenced the survey outcome, using throughway selectively without fully defining it is a prime example. Everything seems designed to justify the extension of the 241, which the TCA claims without any factual proof will alleviate traffic in the future. Remember, historically, the TCA management and staff have consistently missed budgets, traffic projections, and timelines, not by a justifiable margin of error, but by unconscionable billions of dollars and decades of time. Please consider the IBI study conclusions very carefully and demand unbiased and accurate studies and information in the future. You owe that to yourselves and to us as your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Linda Williams, followed by Bob Goodson.
Hello. Thank you for all giving me your full attention. I really appreciate that you are looking at me and giving me your attention while I speak. At the February TCA meeting, Director Marriott said, the TCA can take someone's home with the stroke of a pen, and we are going to fault them for hiring a PR firm. He said, what the hell is going on? And I asked the same question. I am an eight-month resident of San Clemente, and I've been to 4 TCA meetings. This was not my plan when we moved to San Clemente. I plan to enjoy our beautiful city. I am all new to these public comment meetings. I've never done this in my almost 55 years of life. And I came from San Bernardino, which you know is really screwed up, but I really felt the need here to be here. So I haven't been the most articulate speaker. I haven't wrote my notes down. I tried to write some notes here so I could be more articulate. And yes, part of the public comments is I've applauded when somebody has been able to articulate what I'm thinking and I can't say. I know there's people in the audience, I'm shaking right now. I know there's people in the audience that can't speak. They are as scared as I am to get up here and speak. So they applaud because someone's saying what they're thinking. So I'm here as a resident whose town will be mutilated by a tow road, as a hiker who enjoys the open spaces, as a churchgoer whose church property would be in jeopardy if the I-5 was widened. That's the Presbyterian Church. It's built right up against the 5 freeway. I think Director Ward said the last time that there's only room for like maybe 1 more space in the thing, not 2 more roads. You'd have to widen, let alone the businesses and the homes that would be there. Finally, I am a human who is appalled by the actions and accusations of the TCA PR firm. And the first speaker spoke more clearly to that, so I won't go on. I appreciate Director Ward. I was here 9 days when I went to my first tow road meeting, and she came to that meeting to just support her constituents and her residents, and consistently seen her at this meeting be the only one to actually speak out and represent and defend her constituents. Other members, such as Bartlett, I just don't feel like she as representing her constituents and speaking on their behalf. My understanding is you represent the South Orange County, those 3 cities as part of your district and your constituents. And I realize you have to work for the whole county, but South Orange County is who elected you. At the February meeting, we also had 4 or 5 millennials that came and spoke. All of them except for one were talking about their east-west commute, not a north-south commute. Oh, darn. Let me just say real quick, Ole Hansen said, I envision a place where people can live together more pleasantly than any other place in America. I'm going to build a beautiful city on the ocean where the whole city will be a park. Parks do not have toll roads through them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You did very well for your first public speaking time. I just would suggest deep breath. Bob Goodson, followed by Michelle Schumacher.
Yes, good morning. My name is Bob Goodson. I'm a resident in Rancho Mission Viejo in the village of Sendero, which would be adjacent to both the 9 and 18 corridors coming through. I know there's going to be an impact because I've looked at where that route is going to go through. I'm somewhat aware of CEQA and what the impacts are going to be. I've done a lot of research since I lived within the ranch plan community overall development. I've looked at the ranch plan, and what I'd like to do, and I know where the TCA is right now, it's not an easy job you have to do to balance everything that you have to balance to come up with a conclusion. And I know you're in the project review report phase right now, where you're looking at each one of the routes you're being considered. And what I want you to do is to really consider the purpose and need. And previously, this spoke about the intended purpose and need for improvement on I-5. 918 really doesn't do that, so I want that to be a serious consideration for that particular route. Also, I think with the 918 and also looking at the ranch plan and knowing what is in the ranch plan, there is a conservation easement that would be disturbed through that corridor. And I don't know if it's going to be a very easy regulatory process for you to go through with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and other entities that are involved with habitat conservation. But there are endangered species there. It is already prescribed as a conservation easement, and we think in our community it should be maintained that way. There are other major impacts, and I assume as you go through your project review, you'll see those, and hopefully you'll see the mitigations that may be significant and may be difficult and very costly to mitigate successfully to put that roadway through. Again, I just hope that you do look at purpose and need and look at the overall CEQA of related impacts for all of the routes, but 9 and 18 in particular from my viewpoint. Last, again, with purpose and need and with overall environmental impact, I hope you look at, for each one of these routes, a no project alternative. And what I mean by a no project alternative, I look again at the ranch plan and perhaps OCTA proposed arterial roadways. And I hope your studies, your traffic studies, your circulation and route studies will adequately look at using existing planned or arterial roadways in contrast with the benefit of a toll road.
Thank you. Michelle Schumacher.
Good morning, Board of Directors. For over a year now, we've been coming and asking you to stop this flawed process. Never has the TCA weaved through existing neighborhoods too close to schools. The toll roads have always gone through open areas. The proposed projects, all of them, they're unmitigatable. They shouldn't even be considered. Every elected official and Rancho Mission Viejo, the largest developer in the area, has come out against the proposed routes. The ranch has even said that they're building their own arterials and do not need the toll roads for the 14,000 new homes. So I think you should listen to them. They've been developing Orange County for many years, and I think they know what they're doing at this point. The Board of Directors is not providing the direction and public oversight of this agency. This agency has seriously run amok. We're 4 months into the year now, and this is only the second board meeting, yet there's many meetings going on with lobbyists and maybe 1 or 2 board members that are providing direction for this agency. You as board members have a fiduciary duty and a duty of care to your constituents, homeowners, taxpayers that you represent. Are you doing the best in this job, letting the lobbyists at the TCA and a few board members that have been here for a long time provide all the direction? I haven't seen any votes approving this direction. We comb through the minutes. We'd like you to really take your duty of care and start acting cohesively with discussion, with taking direction. And in saying that, I think it's important that you start with the TCA's charter, because the TCA was established to build 2 toll roads, pay them off, then go away, not to invest and enrich a bunch of marketing and lobbyist firms, not to conduct mobility studies with 20 different options, not to even look at 8 different options. It was pretty specific what the goal of the TCA and the charter was. You're not supposed to be getting into managed lanes and developing your own IP processes, internal intellectual property. That's not in the charter. And the board is not doing what they need to do in providing direction. So I think those are some pretty serious issues that need to get cleaned up here. So why are these lobbyists and a few directors meeting and calling the directions? That's our question. We would like this abuse to stop. We'd like the waste to stop. Our communities for over a year have been terrorized. I look like crap right now because I don't get sleep anymore, because I have to read through your minutes and see that you're meeting with Communications Lab and Lucy Dunn and Venture Strategic and Kurt Pringle. And you know what? I would prefer to see discussion among the board, our elected officials, than knowing that you guys are meeting and directing. The TCA is directed by lobbyists. So thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a quorum at,
Yes, we do.
thank you very much. So we now move to the consent calendar for San Joaquin Hills, items 1 through 7. Do any of the San Joaquin Hills board members wish to pull any of these items?
Chair, I could pull 1 and 2 for San Joaquin and Foothill Eastern, since I am representing both, or we could take one at a time.
We'll do it one at a time.
Okay, so I will pull it for San Joaquin, 1 and 2.
1 and 2, thank you. Any others?
Yes, Chair. Yes, I will, item number 7, I will not be participating pursuant to the Levine Act.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I will go ahead and abstain for number 1 since I was not here for the minutes.
Thank you.
Mr.
I
Chair,
will abstain from 1 also.
I will,
Understood, and the clerk will note all abstentions.
I will as well.
Thank you.
I was going to move the balance.
We have a motion to move the balance.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's go to number 1, Director Ward.
Okay, on the minutes, I'm going to refer Martha to page 3. And my comment is, there were several speakers in the last meeting that we had that are actual candidates for Congress, and I thought that they should be mentioned by their name so that the public understands who they are when they came here. They took a lot of time out of their busy schedule to be here. The first one would be Mike Levin from San Juan Capistrano. He is running for Congress, 49th District. Second page, page 4, is Michael Hadlin from Oceanside. He was representing Assemblymember Rocky Chavez, who is also running for Congress, same district. And the next person would be Sarah Jacobs of Encinitas. She is also running for Congress. And I think that should be represented there for the public. I want to make sure that was all I had in the minutes. Other than the committee reports, Chair, that's number 2, so that's all I have for the minutes.
Okay, did you want to move?
I will move that item.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
We move to number 2, committee reports. Director Ward.
Okay, number 2. This concerns the Joint Toll Operations Committee meeting, so could a staff member come up for that? Would that be Samuel? Or you could? Okay. In the committee discussion, there were several items that I don't know what they are. I've never seen them before. They talk about the initiatives for fiscal year 2019, what those are going to be. The first one was a 6C transition, and I'm assuming that's going to a different transponder. And I think what I saw in the minutes that equates to a toll transponder being able to use for any toll in Southern California? Would that include Northern California?
Fast Track transponders, our transponders are interoperative throughout the state, yes.
So the entire state?
That's current and future.
Okay. The other wording that I did not understand is it says account simplification, I got that. Regional involvement. What is regional involvement? What is our initiative on that?
So the initiative for regional involvement is basically our involvement with organizations such as SCAG, OCTA, Caltrans, et cetera. There's a list of them in the initiative, which will be coming to the board as part of the budget process.
Okay, so they are not involvement with other toll agencies?
It is also other toll agencies, yes. So
Okay.
you can read your 2017 initiatives, which were provided as part of last year's budget process, and that initiative is also in there.
Okay.
And then it'll be coming forward through this year's budget process as well.
Right, I'm looking forward to the April 25th. On-road improvements, what is that initiative?
The same as it was this year. It's just ongoing projects that basically are to improve the experience of the users of the system on road.
So would that be existing roadways, the 51 miles existing?
Yes.
We're not talking about new on-road experiences?
You could read the detail specifically and interpret it, yes.
Will that be in the budget for April 25th?
Yes, it will.
Okay. What I would like at our meeting on April 25th, which is a budget meeting, I would like you to have a presentation to us of our JPA agreement and our charter so that we all understand what that is. None of us were here when this agency was formed, and I would like to make sure that our initiatives match. We have like a guide to see if our initiatives match what our mission is. And I would like that to be done before we enter into a budget discussion. I'd like a preview of that. Okay, so Chair, I would like that added, a presentation of our JPA
Noted.
agreement and our charter so that we understand what our mission is, so we can make sure that we don't have any mission creep in this, because these are words that I have not seen. So I would, I'd like that agendized.
So just in response, all of the words that you mentioned are in the 2017 initiatives as well.
I understand that, but it's comments that I'm hearing now that make me concerned about those words. So I would like that reviewed, so we all understand. I will move number 2.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, could you mind having me added on to consent? I think you did that before I walked in. Thank you. Affirmative on all matters for consent. Martha, thank you.
Thank you. We now move to Foothill Eastern consent calendar items 1 through 4 and 8 through 11. And I ask for any directors who want to pull any items, and noting the commonality of Director Ward's pulling of minutes number 1. Do you want to pull one again, or we could just assume that they're the same?
Assume that it's the same.
Thank you so much. So any other consent items?
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I'll
sir.
move the remainder.
We have a motion for removing the
Second.
remainder. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you
I
very
need,
much.
Mr.
Sorry.
Chair, I need an abstention for 1.
Very well. So we now move somewhere, I'm sure, to board business items 12 through 15. And I call on Mr. Carrier to come up on the joint items, legacy back office system maintenance contract.
Good morning. I'm Rick Carrier, your Director of Tolling Systems. This item is a contract extension request for the legacy back office system contractor BRIC TPS. BRIC was selected through a competitive procurement to support and maintain the legacy back office system until a new system is in place. The BRIC contract is time and materials with a not-to-exceed cap on hours. This timeline shows the replacement system should go live in August of 2019, followed by a 3-month system acceptance test period. The contract for the legacy system expires at the end of June 2018, and staff is recommending an 18-month extension and additional authorization to cover the period until the new back office system is accepted. This item was unanimously approved by the Joint Toll Operations Committee at the February 21st meeting. Staff is recommending the boards authorize the CEO to execute Amendment Number 2 to the BRIC contract to increase the contract value by a combined not-to-exceed amount of $3.4 million with a 10% contingency and extend the contract term to December 31st, 2019. I'd be happy to try and answer any questions.
Any directors have questions? Yes.
And not so much questions, just comments. So we really need to be aware that the milestones are very important. You know, we were trying to get through this process and get rid of the legacy system. We've invested $30 million, I think, up to this point. So keeping on top of the milestones, very critical, and moving through this process so we can move through that whole legacy system issue and get that behind us. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments from directors?
I'd like to move the item.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Thank you. We'll move on now to item number 12. No, that was item number 12. We move to 13. My personal lucky number, water and wastewater services contracts.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Kurt Mactoff, Facilities Manager. So item number 13, water wastewater services contract. I'd like to begin to, and it's important for me to explain that even after implementation of all electronic tolling AET, the toll plaza buildings are still needed because they contain all the infrastructure, the systems, and the personnel for the continuing electronic toll collection. Here's a couple photos of that equipment, AET equipment racks and IT equipment, as well as all the electrical infrastructure, backup generators. We still do have somewhat frequent power outages out on the remote plazas at Windy Ridge and Orange Grove, so those are critical systems. So those are all housed in the toll plaza buildings. So though most of the plaza buildings are now unoccupied, two plaza operations buildings, one at Irvine Ranch North, which is the leg 261 that parallels the Jamboree, and Tomato Springs South up here in Foothill Ranch, they're still used by contract staff to monitor and maintain the road-wide AET systems. And here are a few of those fine people that agreed to have their photos taken for you.
How many didn't want their photos taken?
No comment. Due to the remote locations, most of the mainline toll plazas couldn't be connected to municipal water and sewer systems, so separate infrastructure was designed and constructed to provide for the delivery of and storage of potable water and the storage and disposal of wastewater from those plazas. As residential development got closer, we were able to connect Irvine Ranch to a municipal sewer, and the Tomato Springs and Orange Grove plazas to the Irvine Ranch Water District, allowing us to decommission the reservoir that was at that site. We will continue to look for and make more changes as the residential development encroaches on our toll plaza at Windy Ridge and others. And those are examples of just the different systems that are out there, the water, fire protection, domestic use. So potable water service provides for fire protection and domestic use for the restrooms that are in the plazas for our employees and break rooms. There's also drip irrigation for the plaza landscaping, helps with some fire protection. By the way, the potable water reservoir at Windy Ridge, which was this last slide on the lower left there, that was used by OCFA recently during the Canyon 2 fire. They filled their fire tanker trucks, and also back in 2007 for the Silverado fire. So it provides a good waypoint for the fire department. These are just the examples of the different systems. So on the wastewater side, pumps and holding tanks provide for the storage and removal of wastewater for certified disposal at a local sanitation treatment plant. So the contract services provide for preventive maintenance and repair of the potable water and wastewater systems, provides for tanker truck delivery to the Windy Ridge Reservoir, because that's the remote reservoir that's not connected yet. Also provides for reservoir inspections and cleaning and water treatment, and also removal and disposal of wastewater, along with emergency response for any equipment failures. The contract was designed for the services to be bundled to reduce costs. This provides for a single point of contact and responsibility of one contractor. The contract is also scalable by using fixed unit costs and adjustable service frequencies. We can adjust the contract down or up as our needs change. Bidding and selection information, the invitation for bid, IFB, was issued through Planet Bids. 4 firms attended the pre-bid meeting. 1 bid was received, and that's the incumbent contractor, Gemini Systems. Their bid was accepted as responsible and responsive. We were curious why the other bidders, the other 3, didn't provide bids, so they were queried. Of those 3 firms, 1 said they withdrew after further review of the scope of work and the specifications. Another did not bid because they didn't have the potable water hauling license that was required. And the last said they didn't have enough time, even though they had a full month from the pre-bid meeting to the bid date. So the recommendation to the San Joaquin is to authorize the CEO to execute a 3-year contract with Gemini Systems for an amount not to exceed $158,946. For the Foothill Eastern, authorize CEO for the same 3-year contract with Gemini in amount not to exceed $692,000. So that concludes my report. I'd like to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, directors. Do you have any questions? Yes, sir?
So when you get a situation like that where you have one respondent, but you have others that you queried, as you indicated, and they indicate semi-legitimate, reasonable responses, but not necessarily that there was more competition, right? We don't have any other bids.
Yeah.
Do you sometimes, especially because I'm not sure of the urgency of this, do you sometimes just scrap it and then try to see if there's more potential players so that you actually can see whether the agency can get some more competitive bids?
You mean to scrap the bundled services? Is that what I hear?
No, start all over, scrap the RFP.
Oh,
Sometimes if you don't get enough bids
Yeah.
for whatever reason, sometimes you just stop and you just redo it, or you rethink it, or you reframe it or something to see if there's any other.
Sure.
It's hard to believe there's only one firm that's qualified to do this work in a county like ours with 10 gazillion engineering firms.
yeah, and I think it's more of a specialty type of RFP because we're asking, like, for instance, we queried the tanker truck water haulers, and so many of them are like in the high desert. So for them to come down and fill our reservoir is really cost prohibitive compared to, to Gemini Systems, for instance. So we looked into that, but I understand what you're saying to scrap it. As we were going along, it looked like we had good response. We did have four bidders that came to the pre-bid meeting, and it looked like there was interest. We had actually had a job walk. I took a couple of them out into the different plazas. So it seemed as we were going along that there was interest. So I was actually quite surprised that we only got the 1 bid. But I also felt like I think it's in the best interest of the agency to go with Gemini. They've been a great contractor. They do a good job. They know the systems well. And their increase was like 15%, but that's from 3 years ago. So I think their costs were fair. So that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does. You did a good
Okay.
job. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions?
A second.
Been moved and seconded. We're going to take 2 votes here. So the first vote is for San Joaquin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition?
And before we move on Foothill, I have one more question.
Sure.
Of those reservoirs we have up there, are there majority of them tanks or are they open air reservoirs?
Well, we originally had 2, and one of them got decommissioned at Tomato Springs South. And they're actually in ground. They have a liner and a floating cover. So they're not tanks. They're actually a hypalon material, which is pretty standard in the industry for an in-ground reservoir.
So it's actually a covered reservoir?
It's a covered reservoir, yeah. It's, and there's,
I just was wondering because of, as an agency, we've been second to none taking into concern to the wildlife that's up in our remaining hills that are up there, with our mountain lion fencing that we have along and with our land that we've purchased as to supplement what we're doing in the corridor. We're making an open space available to wildlife. And so I just wonder what kind of amendments we have as wildlife watering stations up there. And so those are covered reservoirs.
yeah, they're fenced in, they're locked. The hatches to it are locked and sealed, and it's covered. So, we see very little wildlife get in there too. Occasionally a coyote gets in there and does his business on top of the cover, but other than that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So Director Voits was looking for a place for his daughter to bathe her horse. So we now move on to Foothill Eastern. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None. Any abstentions? Thank you very much. We now move on to item number 14. Ms. Potter, traffic and revenue update.
Good morning. I'm Amy Potter, Chief Financial Officer.
Got up there very quickly.
And this item is information only. And today we have with us our traffic and revenue consultant, Steve Abenshine with Stantec. He will be making the majority of this presentation. This is a presentation that we give you prior to presenting the annual budget. And we'd like to present to you the process that we go through in putting together the toll rate recommendations, and also having an opportunity for Steve to present to you the traffic and revenue performance for the current year. So we work with our consultant each year in preparation of the annual budget, and we look at various toll rate scenarios, and then we present those to you at the budget workshop. And when we are putting together these recommendations, there are a number of factors that we take into consideration. We look at these results from the prior year, and then we also take into consideration those assumptions that we've included in the bond finance documents. And we also look at traffic congestion on the system and other factors such as the economics and our credit ratings, which fortunately, we were upgraded this last year. Both agencies were upgraded, and so we want to continue on that path. And then also looking at making smaller adjustments on a regular basis rather than infrequent larger lump sum adjustments. So with that, I would like to bring up Steve to make his presentation, and then we'd be happy to answer questions and take it from there. Thank you.
Good morning. So there's three parts to the presentation today. First, just a little background on the facilities, how they operate, what the characteristics of the user base is. I want to talk a little bit about the performance in the first 6 to 7 months of fiscal year 2018, and then talk a little bit about our process for how we look at the traffic and revenue as part of the budget process and the role that economics takes and some of the things we've seen with our observations of economic trends in the region and how we think that'll influence traffic and revenue performance. So this is just a slide that shows the system. There's several different dominant movements, starting with the Foothill Eastern. When you look at the South 241, 133 movements, what you have is you have a very strong commuter base that comes from housing in the Inland Empire, Riverside County, San Bernardino, travels west through the 91 corridor, and then enters your system coming south through the Windy Ridge Toll Plaza, basically accessing job centers in the downtown Irvine area and within Orange County. So you have three mainline plazas, Orange Grove, Irvine Ranch, and Windy Ridge, where you have a very strong southbound AM traffic flow, and then northbound in the afternoon. And they utilize the 241, the 261, and the 133 as alternatives to the 91 general purpose lanes west of your facility, the 55, the 57, which are heavily congested corridors. But there's also a second movement that occurs from the housing market in southeast Orange County, and this is an area where there's a lot of potential future growth. And here you have actually a northbound peak through the Tomato Springs Plaza as vehicles travel from the southern end of the 241 again into those job centers in downtown Irvine. So at Tomato Springs, you actually have a northbound AM, southbound PM peak. So it's actually the reverse of the other three mainline plazas on the facility. In this circumstance, a lot of the alternatives are signalized arterials. So, you know, they're very long light cycles, they're signalized. Speed limits are a little lower than the freeway speeds. So it's a slightly different competitor than what you have for the other sections of the Foothill Eastern. 73 is a slightly different use. There are more long-distance trips, those that are basically using it as a bypass for I-5 and I-405. But you do have some localized trips as well, where you have a northbound AM peak from a lot of the housing in South Orange County, adjacent to the corridor, again, up to those job centers more in the center part of the county. So northbound AM, southbound PM peak through the Catalina View Mainline Plaza on the 73. So looking at historical performance, what we've plotted here is basically since you recovered from the Great Recession. So going back and looking at July 2009. The green bar represents the revenue, and the axis on the left side shows you the scale there. The blue bar represents your transactions with the scale on the right-hand side of the graph. And what we've seen is following a few years of slightly stagnant transaction growth coming out of the Great Recession, over the last 3 to 5 years, you've really had both strong transactional growth on the Foothill Eastern and strong revenue growth. The last several years, tolls have increased annually by about 2% on average, which is why you're seeing that separation between the growth in transactions and revenue. But you've really been buoyed both by strong transaction growth and these slight toll increases pushing your revenue growth. Looking at the San Joaquin, very similar patterns. Again, the graphic set up in the same way. The blue bar represents your transactions, the green, the revenue. Scale on the left is revenue, scale on the right is transactions. And a very similar trend has occurred here as well. Slow growth coming out of the recession, but really in the last 3 to 4 years, you've seen very strong transactional growth, very strong revenue growth. Both facilities at this point are at the highest they've ever been historically as far as both total transactions and total revenue. So over the past year, what we really do is we look at the first 6 months following your toll increase on July 1st, and we compare it to basically those same 6 months in the year prior. And we do that to try to understand, what are the impacts of that toll increase, and we utilize that to help guide the scenarios that we look at for the fiscal year 19 budget process. So a few things that are interesting to note. So overall transactions on the Foothill Eastern are up over 5%. In fiscal year 18 versus fiscal year 17, and your revenue is actually up 8.7%. So both, very strong transaction and revenue growth. Some interesting characteristics when you start to look at time of day. So your peak transactions are up 3.4%, and again, this is, on a very high base of transactions already. This is where the majority of the trips occur on the facility. So you've had some very good, strong peak growth. But you've also seen a lot of off-peak traffic growth, up over 9%. That's really good to see. That's that your discretionary trips are starting to see the benefits. They're looking at the travel time savings still, of the facility compared to your toll-free alternatives. So it's nice to see that kind of growth. Your weekend transactions are actually down about 5% year over year. But part of that is because there was a tremendous amount of weekend growth in fiscal year 2017. And you've seen a little bit of a decrease from that number. But when you actually look at 18 versus 16, you still have some positive weekend transaction growth. So more likely the 2017 number was overinflated, and some of those weekend trips have actually started to decrease on the system. One of the things that's interesting is the comparison of the mainline transactions versus your ramp transactions. And your mainline plazas, so Windy Ridge, Irvine Ranch, Orange Grove, and Tomato Springs, the peak period transactions at those plazas are up over 4%. So what you're seeing is that even though those are your highest rates on the system, this is also your most inelastic traffic. It's also the most sensitive to, this is where you're getting your highest level of travel time savings. This is really where people are making that decision of, choosing this over the congested toll-free routes. So you have very, very strong peak period transactional growth. So that's a great sign to show that you're really building that commuter base that's the foundation of the facility's TNR. Looking at the San Joaquin, transaction growth's up 2.3% on the system, so a little bit lower than what we saw in the Foothill Eastern, but revenue still is up over 5%. So total peak period transactions on the system are actually slightly down, about 0.3%. And what this really is that when you look at the main line versus the ramp plazas, Catalina View's main line, the transactions are up. You can see the bullet at the bottom. So we're up about 1% at the mainline plaza. So what this really shows is some of those ramp plazas have actually seen some decreases in your peak period transactions. What is a positive sign, though, however, is your off-peak transactions are up and your weekend transactions are up. So what you're likely seeing here is a little bit of trips maybe spreading out outside of the peak period, which is why your off-peak is up. So we're taking a close look on, particularly at the ramps and those peak period toll rates on the San Joaquin to see if there's anything we want to do to counteract the fact that we are slightly down during the peak period on the ramp transactions. Any questions about any of that information before I move on to the economy? Okay, yes. Yep.
Talk about capacity, mainly in the 73. Where are we percentage-wise in capacity on the south end versus the north end? Just overall feel for the capacity.
Yeah, you're focusing purely on like the peak hour. You're still operating at free flow speeds. There is some very, very isolated congestion for a short period of time every once in a while around the Catalina View Mainline Plaza in that peak hour. But otherwise, the facility operates under capacity at free flow speeds the majority of the day. So moving to the economy. So I want to talk a little bit about where we were in 2015 and where we're going in 2025. We're kind of at the midway point. When we did our last long-term forecast, we look at a couple different milestone years in the modeling process, and one of those being 2025. So I wanted to show this graphic as to where we think the growth is going to continue to occur throughout the county and how that's going to influence usage. So the left-hand side is population density in 2015 in the county. 2025 is the projection of where we think that population density is going to move in the next 5 to 6 years. And really what you see is, other than some densification of some already dense areas within the county, the last main area of the county that's really starting to get densified sits right adjacent to the Foothill Eastern. Along the 133, in the graphic on the left, you can still see some very light tan areas. They start to become shaded by 2025. And Rancho Mission Viejo, the ranch plan at the south end of the 241, again, is obviously a very large development that's occurring. So we expect that this growth in households, this growth in population is going to continue to drive strong transactional growth on the Foothill Eastern in particular, because these developments sit next to the toll roads. So we think that, the roads are in a optimal position to kind of serve this population as it continues to grow within the county. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman? Mr.
Yes,
Abishaine's not
Director.
running the meeting. Look at, so to your right, you have shaded area to the east of the toll road in orange. See that? I don't, it looks like a
Yes,
dog or an
yeah.
alligator or something?
And we know that development is no longer.
Yeah, it's not there. It got
Correct.
taken off. So why is
Yeah,
it there?
this graphic hasn't been updated to reflect that. I mean, this graphic is a little bit old, so you're right. That is an adjustment
Well,
we
if
need
you
to
look
make.
down, well, you got a couple biggies, okay? Look at the 241 and the 91. That's all now, that whole area at the bottom of the right, that's been deeded over to the county. It's in my district for open space and or a cemetery. So why is that there?
Yeah, it's really just about this graphic needing to be updated to reflect those recent adjustments. We don't update this map every year because it is a future forecast.
Okay,
Yeah.
my only point is when you're making a presentation and you're telling me that this map is what's anticipating future growth, and I know at least my areas pretty well, and that's not there anymore, that's all my observation. That just surprises me. I'm looking at a map that's telling me that's the future, and I know it's not.
May I answer that?
course.
So we know Mountain Park is off the table, as well as some of
Right.
the East Orange projects. The general plans for those areas haven't been updated yet, therefore the base maps that Steve is using don't reflect that, but we are fully aware that those developments are now off the table. So we'll deduct that from the analysis, but overall, that really doesn't change some of the data that Steve is using today to show the board.
Okay, all right. Well, any future presentations, whether it's here in front of us or if you, community, would you at least, when you intro it, would you at least acknowledge that you're using a map that you all know may be not exactly accurate because it's been
Yes.
updated? Just so we all are on the same page?
Okay.
Because you kind of surprised me by not saying that when I saw the map. Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr.
Director
Chairman.
Spitzer, my first concern was that you're seeing alligators on this map, yes?
No, it looks like a
You're done, you're done, you're done. Director?
Thank you. Just one brief question to follow up on that. So, for example, in Newport Beach, at the bottom right of it, down in the Crystal Cove area, it's showing a densification there. I'm pretty well acquainted with what that area looks like. I'd be surprised if we had a densification in that area, but Mike, I suppose the question would be, what are you pulling this from? Are you pulling it from general plans of each city?
Yeah, we do, when we look at the land use forecasting that's involved in the modeling process, I mean, we start from a high level, so that'd be the SCAG regional forecast, but we do then look at individual city plans if they're available. We coordinate with local transportation agencies, What we have here, some of the issues with this as well is based on the scale that we're showing with the population. And if you have an area that's, at the very high end of one bar, it doesn't take a lot of growth to push it into the next level of shading. So there may be a question about, is it really being more densified, or is that natural background growth that just happened to take it into the next shading area? If there are specific areas, if you want us to provide the backup for a specific area, we're happy to do that.
Thank you. All right.
Chair, I have a
Yes.
question.
Sure. Director Ward?
When you spoke about the Rancho Mission Viejo development that is below the 241, would you agree that that population hopefully is going on the 241 north to the job centers? And that's the increase that we will see along that stretch?
I think that, yes, the expectation is that some portion of users from that facility will utilize the 241. There are other alternatives. We assume that, that some portion of that population will, they basically will choose the route that is the most effective for them from their house to
cost.
their job. And
Right.
cost, yep, that's all part of the equation. So we do see a benefit on the southern end of the 241 from the continued development down there.
Okay. And I also would make the comment that for San Clemente, there's a growth dark orange area, and that area is built out. And above that is Camp Pendleton. So again, I don't see where that growth is coming from either.
Some of the issues with the actual shapes within the development areas is because of this is tied to what's called a transportation analysis zone map. So it's possible that if you have a very large TAZ, the development could be in one section, the whole TAZ changes its shading. But again, if there's a specific area that you'd like us to provide the backup data for, we're happy to do that.
Thank you.
I have
Any
a
other
comment.
questions?
Yeah, I wanted to say, it seems like there are a lot of discrepancies and possible things that need to be updated. Would it be possible to get an updated version of this that would have the corrections? Would that be something that would be reasonable?
I think for specific developments that have since been repurposed or removed from the long-range plan, that's simplistic enough to remove those. When it's questions about just the level of background growth that might be in a particular zone, that's a little more difficult to analyze. But we can certainly look at some of the things that we've highlighted today and make those adjustments relatively quickly and issue another set. That's not a problem.
Thank you very much.
Okay, please continue.
So similarly, looking at employment, this is basically a map similar to what we just looked at for population, but instead looking at employment density. And in this situation, what you're really seeing is areas that already have high volumes of employment, we expect to continue to densify around the El Toro Y, the downtown Irvine area, around John Wayne Airport. Essentially, we're seeing that areas that are heavy job centers already will continue to be the heavy job attractors in the future as well. Other things that we look at is essentially the overall transportation market as a whole. One of the statistics we analyze is vehicle miles of travel. The graphic on the left kind of shows the national growth in VMT. One of the things that I think is worth highlighting is, following the Great Recession, where we had essentially the first noticeable decrease in vehicle miles of travel in 30 to 40 years, we had a period of about 5 or 6 years where traffic was, vehicle miles travel was flat. And there were a lot of narratives that started to develop around that, as far as people don't want to buy cars anymore, people aren't interested in driving, densification of cities. And what we've actually seen in the last 3 or 4 years is a return to that long-term growth trend. So basically the last 3 or 4 years, we're back at a 2% per year growth in vehicle miles of travel. So in some instances, what we believe has really caused that flattening of VMT was the severity of the economic recession and delays in some of that, some of the continued travel, families moving out of cities, jobs returning. So now that we're starting to see a strengthened economy and a lot of economic growth, it's interesting to note that VMT is actually returning at its former levels. And looking at California in particular on the right, California's growth in VMT has actually outpaced the growth for the rest of the United States. So it certainly seems like people are driving again, congestion's worsening, vehicle miles of travel is starting to return. One of the things that goes hand in hand with VMT is really gas prices. The green line represents the U.S. average gas price overall. The blue is Los Angeles, which is the closest publishable data to Orange County. And we have seen a couple years of lower gas prices after 4 or 5 years of sustained high gas prices, but we are starting to see an upward tick. Gas prices are starting to rise again. We've had about a year's worth of continual slow rise. One of the things we notice is that when gas prices increase at a slower rate, people tend to react. The reaction is muted. There's less reaction. You're able to, adjust over a period of time. You rebudget. You kind of factor that into the equation. Where we really start to notice impacts to travel is when you have wild swings in gas prices, even if it's upward or downward. Because I think once you start to increase that uncertainty, it changes people's, driving choices, their driving behaviors. So we haven't noticed much of an impact from this slow, steady increase over the last year, but it's certainly something we're keeping an eye on to see if this gas price increase will spike. Obviously, recent conversations around international trade, things like that are obviously things we're keeping an eye on to see if that's going to influence gas and whether that might have an impact on overall travel, particularly on discretionary toll road trips.
Mr. Evanshine, a quick
Yes.
question. Do you have a gasoline price in mind where it starts to decrease drivers?
Yeah, again, really the volatility of an increase is more impactful, but really above about $4.50 a gallon is when you will start to notice that it's a real impact. But again, if we were to go up a couple cents a week, and end up at $4.50, you wouldn't have the same impact as if over suddenly a couple week period you saw a
It's the
spike.
boiling frog theory. Thank you.
Obviously, employment's a very large driver of the toll road usage, and this basically shows the 3 areas, Los Angeles, Riverside, and Anaheim, which is our MSA for Orange County, compared to 2 other large job centers in the Bay Area. And really what you're seeing is, a pretty consistent upward trend, basically ever since 2011 as far as total employment. Every county in the area is at an all-time high for total employment. The unemployment rate is obviously at a very low number. So, whether or not we are at a point where we're at full employment, I think is debatable, but we're certainly getting close to it. So employment's as strong as it's ever been in this area. Housing price is another big factor. This data is a few years old. We didn't have all 3 counties published for the most recent data, but essentially what we found is housing prices have returned and passed their previous 2007 highs. Again, LA, Orange, and Riverside, all at all-time highs. One thing we are monitoring is the changes to the tax code and its implications on property taxes and whether or not that's going to have any impact. Obviously, Orange County is one of the counties that I think gets highlighted regularly as maybe most or one of the larger impacts from some of those property tax deduction changes. So we're keeping an eye on whether or not that's going to have any impact on the housing market. We haven't seen anything yet, but again, something we're tracking. Development itself and housing permits. 2017 data wasn't finalized yet, so this shows through 2016. Riverside, LA, and Orange County. One big takeaway here is that not only are we at very, very high levels for housing permit building issuance, but the ratio of multifamily to single family is higher than it has been in the past. So not only is there a lot of housing construction going on, but it's a lot of multi-unit construction, which again leads to a lot of this densification that we've been highlighting as past trends in the county. So in conclusion, you've seen a lot of strong transaction revenue growth the last few years that's been buoyed by very strong economic growth. The lower gas prices have helped kind of sustain that, though again, we're keeping an eye on that ticking up slightly. Your peak period transactions are up across the board at all mainline plazas, that's really a great driver. That's the base of your users. Something that you really want to see that strength. But we are a little concerned because some of the individual ramp plazas we're looking at aren't showing that same level of growth, and a few ramps are even slightly down year over year. So we're seeing a lot more of those longer distance trips hitting multiple mainline plazas, but we are seeing a little bit of inconsistent growth on the ramp plazas.
Yes, Chair Miniger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have one question and one observation. The first one, my question is, when you did your computer modeling for traffic and revenue study for the TAZ for the city of San Clemente, did you use the exact TAZ that SCAG uses for the 2040 RTP plan?
Well, when we do our budget exercise, we don't do a horizon year forecast out into
understand.
2040. If you're asking about the exact TAZ shape between the SCAG model and our model, I would need to confirm that, but the model that we use is a descendant of the SCAG model, so unless the only change may be that when we adopt local plans, sometimes we actually break them into smaller TAZs so we can get more granular with some of that land use information. So it's possible we have multiple TAZs within what the SCAG model has for the San Clemente, but I will have to verify that and let you know.
Please do. And the second one is my observation. Anytime you make a presentation to this board, I would appreciate it that you illustrate the most current data. I noticed that, as Director Spitzer mentioned, some of the data were from 2015, and this is 2018. And the information is very crucial in overall our understanding of what is going on in this area. And because of the economy in Orange County, and more specifically in South County, it does fluctuate. So we want to make sure that you do your due diligence before making a presentation to us. Thank you.
Okay, yep, I completely understand. I will just to clarify, in some instances, data is not yet published or finalized, and so we're unable to get access to some of that information. So we do try to utilize the most readily available, published, finalized data. But your point is noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other director questions? Thank you. I love coming to these meetings. I learn a lot. For instance, I've always called it Tomato Springs. So can I have a motion to move?
Second that.
It's not even necessary. It was just overkill on my part.
Yes,
I
this
was
is
testing.
just a presentation, and what we'll do
Thank you.
next is we'll continue our analysis, and then we'll bring the results back to you at the budget workshop. And then you will also see that again at the Joint Operations and Finance Committee meeting on May 24th, and then approve the budget on June 14th.
Thank you very much. We move to item 15, also presentation only.
Chair, before we go to that, can I ask that the entire board get a copy of that PowerPoint?
Sure.
Thank you.
Item number 15, Paul, this is Oso
Mr.
Bridge.
Chair, I'm going to ask our consultant to correct it before we provide it, since there were comments made.
Of course, thank you.
Hi, I'm Paul Bopp. I'm the engineering manager, and I'm here to provide an update on the Oso Bridge project. To get everyone oriented on the location of the Oso Bridge project, as can be seen on this map, it is located at the southern terminus of the 241. And what we're going to do on the next slide is zoom in on that blue box area there. And as can be seen on this slide, at this location is where the toll road terminates at Oso Parkway. And there are existing toll points at this spot on the northbound on-ramp and the southbound off-ramp. Now, the area south of Oso Parkway is owned by Rancho Mission Viejo, and they're in the process of constructing Los Patrones Parkway, which is generally shown on this image as the graded area south of Oso. Now, Los Patrones will connect Oso Parkway using an on and off ramp that mirrors that of the 241, and will bring traffic from their Essentia development to the toll road entrance and exit points shown here. Now, the Oso Bridge and Gap Closure Project is not part of the Los Patrones project. It includes construction of a bridge, and then, as shown in black here, a new pavement between Los Patrones and the toll road, And this new road will pass under Oso Parkway on a bridge, and this will eliminate the need for cars to exit and then re-enter through the ramp intersections. They'll just be able to go right directly through under the bridge. This will improve traffic operations, safety, and increase ridership to the existing 241. Now, as we see here, this is a picture that was taken just last week, that Los Patrones Parkway construction is nearly complete. This is the southbound on-ramp, and the picture is also looking south. Now, this, the proposed opening day for Phase 1, and Phase 1 is from Oso to Chiquita Canyon Drive, which is just the northern end of their planning area too. So this is anticipated to be opening at the end of May or mid-June timeframe. Now, a little bit of background on the Oso Bridge project and the actions that the board has taken on this in the past. In February of 2017, the board approved a co-op agreement with the County of Orange to advertise, award, and administer the Oso Bridge project on the agency's behalf. In April of 2017, the TCA board also approved funding of the Oso Bridge project based on the plan, specifications, and estimate. At the same time, the board approved funding for the County of Orange to perform the AAA services on the project. Now, the county has completed the advertisement phase for the project, which started at the end of January. As part of this process, 15 contractors were pre-qualified to submit a bid. A mandatory pre-bid meeting was held out at the site, and 10 contractors submitted formal bids by the deadline. Bid opening occurred on March 15th, 2018, and the apparent low bid was $17.8 million, and the high bid was $21.7 million. This constitutes a tight range of bids, including the next lowest bid at just a few $100,000 more at $18 million, followed by 2 other bids at $19 million. TCA staff is very satisfied with the outcome of the bid process. The apparent low bid is not an outlier compared to all the other bids. The tight range between the bidders shows a near consensus on what the project cost should be. Now, the next steps moving forward is the county staff is scheduled to recommend award of the construction contract at their board meeting on April 24th. We allow somewhere between 45 to 60 days for contract execution, acquisition of insurance, and bonding, and we anticipate that construction will start mid-June of this year. We're anticipating a 2-year construction timeframe, so we're estimating opening day will be the summer of 2020. And that completes my presentation. As you've already said, this is just a receive and file, and so the board has no action on that, but I would be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any board director questions?
I have one, Chair. Will we be adjusting our next budget to reflect the actual cost of the bridge rather than what we budgeted earlier?
Well, the cost is in the budget. What will occur is that the funding will only be up to the bid limit.
Right, but it's my understanding that what this agency budgets, whatever is left, it becomes discretionary spending. So now that we know we're going to give this award April 24th at the Board of Supervisors meeting, we'll know what the actual cost is
Right.
and can factor in overruns and all of that. So I think our budget was a lot higher, was it not, for this?
It was higher than this, but that also included the AAA services and included some other things. But yes, it was higher than the bid, and so the fiscal year 19 budget could be adjusted to reflect that.
Okay.
And
Well,
I think,
We'll talk about
excuse
it
me.
then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think Mr. Kramer has some clarification.
Any surplus money above the cost does not become discretionary spending.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? Thank you very much. We appreciate that, and we appreciate your report. We do not have a part 2 public comments section. So Ben, will you take us into closed session, please?
Yes, Chair. The boards will now be adjourning to closed session. The 7 closed session items are set forth in the agenda under section VII entitled Closed Session. Specifically pursuant to Government Code 54957, Both boards will be adjourning to closed session to discuss the public employee performance evaluation of the CEO. In addition to that closed session item, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9, both boards will be conferring with legal counsel on 3 pending litigation matters: the In-Ray Toll Roads litigation, the Robert Cohen versus Foothill Eastern Transportation Corridor Agency et al., the Thomas Trax et al. Versus Transportation Corridor Agencies et al. And then in addition to those closed session items, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9, the Foothill Eastern Transportation Corridor Agency Board will be conferring with legal counsel on 3 other pending litigation matters: the City of San Clemente versus Foothill Eastern Transportation Corridor Agency et al., the Reserve Maintenance Corporation versus Foothill Eastern Transportation Corridor Agency et al., and the Capistrano Unified School District versus County of Orange et al. And I do anticipate reportable action following the closed session.
Thank you very much. Board, we are retired to closed session. Report any items.
Yes, Chair. So in closed session, the directors from both boards voted to defend against the action listed in the agenda entitled Thomas Trax versus Transportation Corridor Agencies. The board affirmative were directors Bilodeau, Kring, Connors, Heft, Ward, Bartlett, Puckett, Voigt, Shea, Sachs, Minigar, Beal, Wong, and Munzing. And there were none against and no abstentions.
Thank you very much. With that, the next regularly scheduled meeting of the San Joaquin Board of Directors will be held May 10th, 2018 at 9:30. The next regular scheduled meeting of the Foothill Eastern Board of Directors will be held May 10th, 9:30. This meeting is adjourned. We said we're reporting out of closed session. No, we're not. We'll see.
As a director's comment, I would like to ask for a copy of agreement. I'm looking for it. Hold on a second. The cooperative agreement for Regional Toll Operation Services on February 9th, 2017. I would like a signed copy of what that agreement entails. That involved our billing from Transportation Authority. And I also would like to ask that our IBI study that the city did be agendized for the next meeting for a presentation. I thought you had one. Okay. We can give you an updated copy of that, but I'd like to see that. So you'd like to, I could provide it in the meantime. Yes, I will provide it.
Okay, thank you. This meeting is adjourned.
I didn't get to my comments, could I say?
We're not doing comments. The meeting is adjourned.
Oh, I was about, it's about the environmental or non-pesticide.
Is adjourned.
Okay, we.